Hello, and welcome to the Kids Listen Activity Podcast, where listening leads to learning. This is a weekly show from your friends at Kids Listen, a group of awesome podcasts for kids. Each week, the Kids Listen family of podcasters brings you a different podcast and an activity based on the episode to listen, learn, and have some fun. My name is Pam Palmater, and I'm the host of the Warrior Kids podcast. The Warrior Kids podcast celebrates everything Indigenous to inspire warrior kids to help make the world a better place. Today, we're sharing the episode called Warrior Kids Can Blog Too. That's right. It's not just adults that write blogs on important issues. Warrior kids can write blogs too. After you listen to this episode, we'll share a special activity based on our show. You can find the link to those materials in the show notes. Now let's get started with the Warrior Kids Can Blog Too.
Warrior Kids!
Oops, sorry about that, Cricket. I got so excited to be part of the Kids Listen Activity podcast that I forgot to introduce you. For those of you who are new to our Warrior Kids podcast, Cricket is our English Springer Spaniel, our loving dog who is also famous for being part of our live studio audience. Oh, okay, Cricket. Yes, I meant to say he is the only live studio audience member. Alligator, while I will concede that you two are part of our audience, you are a cuddly, stuffy alligator, not really a live studio audience member. Yes, okay, Alligator. Alligator has made a very good point. Even though he is a stuffy alligator, he is still technically part of our audience. And I guess that means that our snake, turtle, and all these teddy bears are also part of our audience too. Okay, so now that you know our studio audience, did you know some other influential voices around here? That's right, it's Warrior Kids Voices. I get some of my best show ideas from Warrior Kids all over the world. And of course, the beautiful artwork you send me is also a reflection of your voice. You might be thinking, what? Wait a second. How is my artwork my voice? It's not like the picture is talking. Well, that is because the word voice has several meanings. First, it can literally mean your voice. The sound that gets produced in your voice box, in your throat, and then in your mouth when you speak. The word for voice in Mi'kmaq, Uxidun, means his or her voice. So someone could have a loud voice, or a very soft voice, or kind of a grumbly voice. There are many ways that people use their voice. They can whisper, they can talk normally, or they can sing. But maybe I shouldn't be a singer. But the word voice also has a different meaning. Voice can mean how you express yourself or your opinion on something. For example, you might know someone who is considered a strong voice on a certain subject. Let's say someone who speaks out against bullying in schools. They might be considered a strong voice because they give speeches at all different kinds of schools about anti-bullying. Or maybe they are considered a strong voice because when they are on the playground, they will speak out against bullying when they see it. In other words, they have a strong opinion based on the values that they hold important to them. A value like people should never be mean to somebody else. In this way, they're using their voice to share their values in the hopes of making the world a better place. And does that sound familiar to you? Kind of sounds like what the Warrior Kids do here on this podcast. In this case, you could be a person that's standing up, protecting, or defending for the right of other kids to be safe on the playground. And guess what? There's a Mi'kmaq word for that. The Mi'kmaq word to fight for, to defend or protect, igatkt. Igatk. That's kind of a hard word to say because of the T and the K at the end. But let's try it again. Igatk. What's really wonderful is that kids can exercise their voices in a wide variety of ways. So, you could talk about something that you care about with your parents or your friends or your teachers. Or you can sing about it. You can even write, draw, or paint something you care about. And that's using your voice as well. No, Cricket, seriously, it's true. You don't have to speak a single word to use your voice and show people what you care about. For example, think about all the artists in the world that paint beautiful pictures that symbolize the importance of planting trees to ensure that we all have clean air to breathe. They might not have said a single word, but you can understand or hear their voice in their painting. Or they might draw a picture of what kind of flowers to plant to attract bees so that the bees can pollinate our food crops. These are all forms of exercising your voice and sharing with the world what you care about and why. But today's show is all about how to write blogs to share your voice on things that matter to you. Yes, Warrior Kids can write blogs too, not just adults. What is a blog? Well, think of it as a very short piece of writing that often gets posted online. In the old days, it used to be called a web log because it was like a log or an entry into your personal journal that you posted on the web. Well, you can imagine over time that people got tired of saying weblog, and they just found it easier to call it a blog. When blogs first started, they were more like short entries into someone's personal website, like an experience they might have had on a trip they took, or how the food tasted at a certain restaurant they went to. Today, however, blogs are really popular and are used by people of all ages and backgrounds to talk about everything from cooking, travel, books, and even science and math. Blogs have become an important way for people to exercise their voices on things they care about. And they often write these blogs because they want other people to care about these things too. Let's say you care very much about bees. Well, you could write a blog about who you are, why you think bees are important, and share some ideas on how other people can protect bees. The great thing about blogs is that they're really short and that they can be done in writing and even in art form. Yes, it's true. You can totally make an artistic blog that shows people what you want them to know. So let's use the same idea of protecting bees. Maybe you paint a picture of a bee on a flower, and then next to your flower is an apple tree with a whole bunch of apples on it. And then maybe next to the tree is someone who is not raking their leaves in order to protect the bees. In that one picture, you see how important the bees are and what you can do to protect the bees without having said a single word. One is a written blog, and one is a visual or artistic blog. And guess what? Some people do both. They write a blog, and they take a picture or draw a picture to go with it. And that's what our activity is for today, to write a Warrior Kids blog on something you care about. It could be one of our Warrior Kids episodes about trees or turtles or families, or it could be an entirely new topic. And it's up to you how you want to do it. You could write it, you could draw it, or you could do both. And what I'll do is I'll post a sheet with some easy instructions on it so you and your parents, teachers, or friends can work on it after this podcast. And don't forget, I would love to receive some of your blogs and post them on our Warrior Kids website so we can help inspire other kids to write about what they care about too. So, Warrior Kids, what did we learn about today? Well, we learned that warrior kids have voices that they can use to talk to people, to sing beautiful songs, or to help educate others on important issues, like saving bees, for example. Now, does anyone remember the Mi'kmaq word for voice? Uxidun. Uxidun is the Mi'kmaq word for voice. And how about the Mi'kmaq word for fighting for something, protecting it, or defending it? Igakt. Igakt. He fights for or defends something. Now let's show the world that warrior kids can blog too and exercise their voices on important issues to help make the world a better place. Thank you all for listening, learning, and acting. Till next time, later, Gators. Oh, just wait. Just before you go, Gators, don't forget, after this podcast ends, that's when you get to work on your Warrior Kids blogs. And if you are on social media, you can use the hashtag KidsListenActivityPod to post a photo or your writing on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And, like I said, don't forget to send Cricket and I a copy of your blog so we can post it on our website. You can find us at warriorkidspodcast.com. This podcast was brought to you by Kids Listen, an organization that advocates for high-quality children's podcasts. Kids Listen is a group of podcast creators who work independently, but we've all come together to support one another and our audiences. You can find the Warrior Kids podcast and almost 100 more podcasts on the Kids Listen app, a podcast app just for kids podcasts. You can download it at the Apple Store or Google Play, or just go to app.kidslisten.org. If you're interested in finding out more about Kids Listen or how to join with your own podcast, go to kidslisten.org. Tune back in next week for another episode of the Kids Listen Activity Podcast. Thanks for joining us on the Kids Listen Activity Podcast, where listening leads to learning.